This is part 2 of the training, 7 Steps to a Language-Rich Classroom. We left off to where we were talking about question 3. What tool did Moises end up using to verbalize his answer? We had mentioned a bilingual dictionary, and there are 3 different types of dictionaries. Bilingual dictionary, an ESL dictionary, and then of course a regular dictionary. The ESL dictionary is still an English dictionary. However, the definitions are much more simplified for students who are probably more of an intermediate advanced level. Now, question 4, what resources might benefit Moises? As you saw, Moises was very dependent, not very dependent, but he was dependent on his peer to kind of help clarify what the assignment was that day. Having a peer does help students, especially when they are recent immigrants. And recent immigrants are defined by them being not native born to the U.S. and they have been enrolled in a U.S. school for 3 years or less. That is a definition of a recent immigrant. Now, so we discussed what were some of the takeaways from the video, and I had asked you guys to make sure that you respond in full sentences. Now, for some students, they might need assistance or a reminder of what a complete sentence looks like. So please make sure that you clarify those pieces to your students. Now, the other part that I would have mentioned to you guys in the training is to include some of those examples in your video, from the video, in your responses. So that would be that piece. Now, Fortify Output. This is basically the strategy that we use, numbered heads together, to help us with this piece. This helps students participate in conversations that are structured and that are driven through the content to stay on task and keep talking about the content. And then, of course, when I called on your names, I called on the number that was assigned, so that way it helped randomize and no one knew who was going to be next. And so those are 2 additional steps from the 7 steps. The last activity, I had asked you guys to divide into 3 groups and to work on the problem and solution worksheet. Now, each group had a task to read a different section, which ended up being a different step. The step would have been the solution, so we were kind of working backwards and helping and working together to identify what the problem was. And I asked people to use the signal words in their responses. So for example, here's the example of the worksheet. The solution that I gave as an example was using visuals and vocabulary strategies, which is step 7 of the 7 steps. And the problem was that since students have difficulty understanding academic vocabulary, that is what they identified, or what we identified as a problem. Now that, sorry, I got myself a little ahead of there. Just to give you guys an idea of what that worksheet looks like, it's like this. And at the bottom, we have a bank, which were our signal words. So this helps kind of make sure that we still have those complete sentences. And the signal words that you guys can include can be your academic vocabulary words to make sure that they actually use those academic vocabulary words that you want to make sure that they use and that they actually learn as well. So now we're gonna jump into the video of strategies. This gives you an overview of what strategies is about in Ellevation.
How can the unique instructional needs of English learners be met if teachers don't have the time or the background to successfully differentiate for linguistically diverse students? Ellevation Strategies is an effective and easy-to-use instructional resource that enables teachers to improve instruction for students in a variety of multilingual programs in all grades and content areas. Classroom teachers of any grade and subject area will find over 80 activities that can easily be incorporated into lessons. These activities ensure all teachers are equipped with teaching strategies to make every lesson meaningful for all students. The activities and Ellevation strategies provide learning targets that connect to classroom objectives, clear and detailed instructions on how to use the activity, demonstration videos that show our activities being used in real classrooms, useful resources such as printable graphic organizers, writing frames, and more, support suggestions directly tied to English language proficiency data to help scaffold instruction, and features to save, organize, and share activities among teachers and across campuses. Ellevation strategies was built upon the most relevant, research-based best practices of English language development, and was developed in collaboration with leading language acquisition experts, including Dr. Tim Bowles, Dr. Jana Echevarria, John Seidlitz, and Dr. Jeff Sweers. Our instructional framework provides clear opportunities for teachers to build engaging, language-rich classrooms that benefit all learners. Ellevation strategies is used in hundreds of school districts across the country to build teacher capacity.
So I'm going to stop it right there, and I'm actually going to go into Ellevation. So in our webpage, under Staff Resources, we have that icon, Ellevation Education. And you log in. It's your regular school email. If you're first logging in, your password might be Bulldog 2021 with a B capitalized. For some reason you have issues, you can also select this option at the bottom, or you can always contact me as well in case you still have any issues. I can help you with that piece. Once you log in, your dashboard includes a lot of data that's already disintegrated for you. It tells you the 4 domains of TELPAS, as you see here, but it also tells you the number of ELs that have the greatest need in each piece. And here are your list of students right down here. You can also select it if you would like to. Now, it is shown by who is a beginner in TELPAS. So that's what the criteria is at. That gives you an idea of what that looks like. And then, of course, we also do have our TELPAS data here, long-term with current ELs and TELPAS composite growth regression. So this is a lot of helpful data to help with our conversations. Now, the long-term ELs are defined by students who have been in a U.S. school for 6 years plus. So it's almost kind of like there shouldn't be a reason that their TELPAS, their English proficiencies, are not at advanced high in each of those domains, which is, of course, the reason why we have a little bit of work cut out for us. But at the very top of Ellevation, you have this tab called Instruction. And this is where you're going to go to browse your activities. This is where I got hanging hashtags, one of the activities that you guys experienced with me. And the cool thing about these activities is that not only do you have links to the documents themselves, a lot of them are Google Doc friendly and they're already created in there. So all you have to do is make a copy of it and then, of course, modify it to your own content. So if you notice, mine looks a little bit differently than this because I did modify it to our training. But not only do we have the links, but you also have videos to help you understand of how to use
hanging hashtags is a very quick activity that can be incorporated with any of your content area. Take a really close look at all the details in the picture. And
so in the video, it basically gives you an example of how this activity was used. Of course, the purpose of it, excuse me, was to relate it to the content, but also to start building that background knowledge of for students. And you guys can use this sort of activity at the beginning of your lesson as you're introducing something new, or as an informal assessment at the very end of your activity. But either way, you have all of this information that gives you, what is the learning target. It tells you what sort of students can benefit from this sort of activity. And also at the same time, you can also add these as a favorite activity or share them. It also gives you a breakdown of how to use the activity, what to do before, during the activity, some tips, what things to watch out for. How do you know if your students have been successful with it, so forth and so on. Now, when you look back here, you can select a domain instead. Like, let's say you want to work on on speaking. What are some activities that I can use for speaking? Well, here's one of them. It has the exact same information as the other one. And this is what you all have access to. We were looking at genetics, I think in a science class in middle school for one of the middle schools. And so we were looking for activities that were related for science, for genetics. And there were a couple of them that popped up. But you can also select it by your content. And let's say you are looking for, your guys are looking over genetics. It does have some activities for that. And so it tells you how to hook your students, how to practice with the students, find the fib, triangles, how to assess them, and then even exit tickets. So it leads you to the activity, but this little snippet, it gives you an idea of how to use those activities to also capture these concepts that we're responsible for during these grade levels. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you guys will be able to utilize Ellevation and strategies. For bilingual teachers, if you're looking for these resources in Spanish, all you have to do is toggle right here and everything changes into Spanish, so the activities are also in Spanish for your use. I hope this helps everyone, and again, I appreciate your time here with me today. Please be sure to follow us on our social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And this is where you can locate me at extension 2022. Thank you.